In the early 20th century, in a small rural town nestled in the heart of Eastern Europe, a series of chilling events unfolded, leaving an indelible mark on the community. This is the true and horrifying story of the Kremenchuk Sanatorium, a place where the line between life and death blurred in the most gruesome of ways. The Kremenchuk Sanatorium was established in 1910 by Dr. Dmitry Orlov, a highly respected physician and scientist, who sought to create a facility dedicated to the treatment of tuberculosis. The sanatorium was built on the outskirts of town, far away from the hustle and bustle of daily life, allowing its patients to breathe in the fresh, clean air and recover in peace. However, despite its noble purpose, the sanatorium soon earned a sinister reputation. Rumors of strange occurrences and unexplained deaths began to circulate within the community. People whispered about the eerie wails echoing through the halls, the constant sense of being watched, and the shadows that seemed to move of their own accord. As the years went by, the reputation of the Kremenchuk Sanatorium only grew darker. By the late 1920s, it had transformed from a place of healing to a place of despair, where patients were said to enter with little hope of ever leaving. The sanatorium's staff, once respected and admired, became the subjects of hushed gossip and fearful speculation. One nurse in particular stood out from the rest, a tall, gaunt woman with a piercing gaze and a stern demeanor. She went by the name of Olga Ivanovna, and she seemed to revel in her reputation. Patients who crossed her path often spoke of the coldness in her eyes and the malicious smile that played across her lips. It was whispered that she derived pleasure from the suffering of those in her care, and that she was responsible for the untimely deaths of many. In 1932, a young journalist named Mikhail Petrov arrived in town, determined to uncover the truth about the Kremenchuk Sanatorium. Armed with his notebook and camera, he spent weeks interviewing former patients, family members, and staff, piecing together a story that would send shivers down the spine of anyone who heard it. Through his research, Mikhail discovered that Olga Ivanovna was not only a sadistic nurse, but also a practitioner of dark arts. It was said that she would perform disturbing rituals in the dead of night, using the blood and organs of the patients who had passed away under her care. The townspeople believed that her actions had invited a malevolent presence into the sanatorium, a presence that fed on the misery and suffering of the patients. Driven by his desire to expose the truth, Mikhail managed to secure a position as a janitor at the sanatorium. His plan was to gather evidence from within the facility, documenting the horrors he witnessed and sharing them with the world. But as the days turned into weeks, Mikhail realized that he was not just a passive observer. He had become a part of the story he sought to tell. It wasn't long before Mikhail began to experience the same feelings of unease and terror that plagued the patients of the sanatorium. He would hear strange noises in the night, see shadows lurking in the corners, and feel an icy cold hand brush against his skin when he was alone. He knew that Olga Ivanovna was behind these occurrences, but he couldn't prove it without evidence. One night, as Mikhail lay in his small room, he heard the familiar sound of footsteps echoing down the hallway. He knew that Olga Ivanovna was conducting one of her twisted rituals, and he saw this as his chance to gather the evidence he needed to bring her to justice. Gathering his courage, Mikhail grabbed his camera and followed the sound of the footsteps, careful not to make any noise himself. The dimly lit corridors seemed to stretch on forever, and the shadows danced menacingly on the walls. Mikhail's heart pounded in his chest as he crept closer to the source of the eerie sounds. Finally, he reached a door that was slightly ajar, revealing a flickering candlelight within. Peering through the gap, Mikhail's eyes widened in horror at the sight before him. Olga Ivanovna stood in the center of the room, surrounded by a circle of candles, with the lifeless body of a patient lying on a makeshift altar. She was chanting in an ancient, guttural language, her eyes filled with a dark, malevolent glee. Mikhail knew this was his chance to capture the evidence he needed to expose the evil that permeated the sanatorium. He steadied his shaking hands and raised his camera, clicking the shutter just as Olga Ivanovna plunged a knife into the lifeless body before her. The flash illuminated the room, and Mikhail knew he had captured the chilling scene. Startled, Olga Ivanovna whirled around, her eyes burning with fury as she caught sight of Mikhail. Without a moment's hesitation, he turned and fled down the darkened hallway, her enraged screams echoing behind him. He knew that he had to escape the sanatorium and share his findings with the world, no matter the cost. Breathless and terrified, Mikhail finally burst out of the sanatorium and into the cold night air. He didn't stop running until he reached the safety of his lodgings, where he locked the door and collapsed, his body trembling with fear and exhaustion. In the following days, Mikhail developed the photograph he had taken and shared it with the authorities. The evidence he provided sparked an investigation, which quickly led to the closure of the Kremenchuk sanatorium and the arrest of Olga Ivanovna. She was tried and found guilty of multiple counts of murder, and she was sentenced to life in prison. The sanatorium was left abandoned, a grim reminder of the horrors that had taken place within its walls. Over the years, it fell into disrepair, and nature began to reclaim the once grand building. Though the evil that had once resided there had been brought to light, the townspeople could never quite shake the feeling that a malevolent presence lingered in the shadows, a testament to the chilling events that had unfolded in the Kremenchuk sanatorium. Mikhail Petrov's story became a cautionary tale, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk within even the most seemingly ordinary of places. His courage and determination to expose the truth not only saved countless lives, but also gave the victims of the sanatorium a chance to find peace in the afterlife. In a small, isolated village in the heart of India, there exists a chilling tale that has been passed down through generations. This is the true and horrifying story of the demon Mahishasura and the terror it brought upon the people who resided in the village of Kalapur. Kalapur was founded during the 17th century and was known for its lush landscapes, fertile farmland, and vibrant community. The villagers were deeply spiritual, and their lives revolved around their devotion to the local deities. Little did they know that their peaceful existence would be disrupted by a malevolent force that would change the course of their lives forever. In the summer of 1812, a series of inexplicable events began to occur in Kalapur. Cattle were found mutilated, their carcasses strewn across the fields, and crops withered overnight. The villagers were baffled by these occurrences, and their fear began to grow as whispers of a demonic presence spread like wildfire. As time went on, the mysterious events escalated. People reported seeing a dark, menacing figure lurking on the outskirts of the village at night. The villagers claimed that the figure had the body of a man but the head of a buffalo, with piercing red eyes that seemed to glow in the darkness. It was said that any who crossed its path would be struck down by an overwhelming sense of dread, leaving them paralyzed with fear. The demon, which came to be known as Mahishasura, would enter the homes of the villagers, terrorizing them and feeding off their fear. Its presence was said to be so strong that it could drive even the sanest of people to madness. Unable to bear the torment any longer, the villagers sought the help of a local wise man named Guru Bhaskar. Guru Bhaskar was known for his deep knowledge of the spiritual realm, and he was revered as a healer and protector. He listened intently as the villagers recounted their terrifying experiences and knew that something had to be done to rid Kalapur of the evil presence. Guru Bhaskar began to investigate the origins of Mahishasura, delving deep into ancient texts and consulting with other spiritual leaders. He discovered that Mahishasura was an ancient demon that had been banished from the underworld, but had somehow found its way into the mortal realm. Determined to save his people from the terror of Mahishasura, Guru Bhaskar devised a plan to trap the demon and banish it from the village forever. He gathered a group of brave villagers and instructed them to create a protective circle around the village using sacred symbols and blessed salt. This circle would prevent Mahishasura from entering the village, trapping it within its boundaries and allowing Guru Bhaskar to perform the ritual that would send it back to the underworld. As night fell, the villagers began their task, their hearts heavy with fear, but their resolve unbroken. Guru Bhaskar, meanwhile, prepared himself for the ritual, fasting and meditating for hours to purify his mind and spirit. The villagers worked tirelessly through the night, their hands shaking as they completed the protective circle. As they put the final touches on their work, Mahishasura appeared, its grotesque form silhouetted against the moonlit sky. The demon roared in fury as it realized it had been trapped, and it charged at the villagers in a blind rage. Guru Bhaskar, sensing the imminent danger, began the ritual, his voice steady and strong as he recited the ancient incantations that would seal Mahishasura's fate. The air around him crackled with energy, and the demon's furious roars were drowned out by the power of the ritual. As the ritual reached its climax, a blinding flash of light filled the sky, momentarily illuminating the entire village. The villagers shielded their eyes from the intensity of the light, their hearts pounding with a mixture of hope and fear. When the light finally subsided, they cautiously opened their eyes and looked around. To their amazement, Mahishasura was gone. In its place lay a pile of ashes, the only evidence of the demon's existence. The villagers, overwhelmed with relief and gratitude, fell to their knees, tears streaming down their faces. Guru Bhaskar, his energy drained but his spirit triumphant, stood among them. He knew that their ordeal was finally over, and that the demon Mahishasura had been banished back to the underworld, never to return. The villagers of Kalapur rebuilt their lives, their faith in the power of good over evil stronger than ever. They honored Guru Bhaskar as their savior and protector, and his memory lived on for generations to come. The story of Mahishasura and the brave villagers of Kalapur serves as a chilling reminder of the thin veil that separates our world from the realm of darkness. It is a testament to the power of unity and the strength of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable terror. Today, the village of Kalapur still stands, a symbol of resilience and hope in a world where evil continues to lurk in the shadows. The tale of the demon Mahishasura is passed down through the generations, a chilling but inspiring story that echoes through the centuries, reminding us all of the courage and faith it takes to stand against the darkness.